Right now, on to the point.
I would expect her to step down and resign her role and her responsibilities.
The Rockland School Board's president under fire again, caught on a recording calling on educators of faith to participate in their unions. A record number of billion-dollar disasters hitting the country. What the Red Cross says they need to do now, and the deadly crash that has a family calling for a highway change. Good evening. This is To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. A Rockland School Board president is facing more backlash tonight. She was caught on a secret recording calling on educators of faith to be more involved in their local unions. Tonight, the Rockland Teachers Union is calling for her to be held accountable. Our Jeannie Nguyen has more on this tonight.
I should say surprised, but not really.
It's been a controversial few months for the Rockland Unified School District board members. And now, a secret recording of board president Julie Hupp has made its way to Travis Mojet. He's a president of the Rockland Teachers Professional Association, the local affiliate of the California Teachers Association.
There's a conflict and a confidentiality break in that level of trust.
In that recording, Hupp can be heard criticizing the teachers union and saying, quote, "We need more faith-based site reps," adding she has been a part of the union for a long time and has joined a group within the union called CTA Republicans who, quote, "meet all the time and talk about how to make changes within the organization."
Separation of church and state is definitely something that I talk about and I teach in class and I understand well, and I think a lot of what was said in that recording contradicts that, especially for somebody in a leadership role.
Hupp also encouraged the room to participate in the district elections, saying, quote, "There's not a lot of competition for these jobs." Because of these comments, Mojet believes Hupp is not fit to be the sitting president of the school board.
I would expect her to step down and resign her role and her responsibilities.
Hupp declined an interview with us, but did say this recording was unauthorized and has always been consistent in her feelings about the teachers union. She emphasized that she loves all educators and believes in differing viewpoints, adding on that religion is a protected class, and if this were any other protected class, it wouldn't be an issue.
And Jeannie joins us now. And we know that the Rockland Unified School District has another board meeting next week. What does the teacher union have planned for that?
Alex, the president of the teachers union did tell me today that he plans on bringing this topic up at the next board meeting. He also said that he's going to explore all his options to try and remove Hupp from the board and says that he expects some accountability from her.
Jeannie, thank you so much. We also have Julie Hupp's full statement posted on our website at abc10.com right now if you want to check it out. And it has been 1 week since the Rockland School Board approved the parental notification policy that will require teachers to notify parents when a student asks to identify as a different gender. We have since learned more school districts will be talking about the issue. So Roseville's Dry Creek Joint Elementary School Board will be talking about the issue tomorrow on September 14th. And it's crunch time at the state capitol. State lawmakers have until tomorrow to get their bills passed and onto Governor Newsom's desk. Several bills addressing racial and LGBTQ+ school materials have passed. One bill, if signed into law, would allow school boards to be fined if they ban textbooks based on their inclusion of LGBTQ+ and race lessons. Another bill would require schools serving 1st through 12th graders to have at least one gender-neutral bathroom available for students by 2026. The rule, if approved by Governor Newsom, will apply to schools with multiple female and male restrooms. In other news, the gunman shot and killed by an officer in the downtown Commons, also known as DOCO, has been identified. 36-year-old Clavion Miles was waving a gun around the area, and police say he also fired shots. The incident started just before 2 in the morning. 3 hours later, police shot him and he died at the scene. Sacramento Police will be adding 12 new positions to their department to help with oversight. So let's take a look at them right now. 6 positions will be added in the Office of Public Safety and Accountability. 2 will be added in the City Attorney's Office, and 4 will be added in the Police Department. And those positions will make up a new Internal Compliance Office. The cost of the new positions will be $1.8 million a year. The mayor is calling it, quote, real progress. 2 men are dead following a shooting in Stockton this morning. This happened on North Oro Avenue, just blocks away from Franklin High School. No motive or suspect information has been released. And there are calls for changes to Highway 4 near Yosemite. 3 people were killed in a crash after a car crossed the divider. ABC 10's Luke Cleary spoke with the dad who says this all could have been avoided.
Driving home to San Jose, the Tran family had just been on an unforgettable visit to Yosemite.
We were in the valley and taking pictures and enjoying the scenery.
But Quang Tran says their lives changed forever in just a matter of seconds when a car barreled at them head-on on Highway 4.
I immediately swerved the opposite direction, and the other car did the same thing too. And this was less than 2 seconds from the time I saw the car and tried to swerve till the impact happened.
This is that moment again in real time at 60 miles per hour. A brutal collision that Quang didn't think he would survive.
Right at the impact, right before that, I knew I was going to die.
But amazingly, after the crash, he's dazed but alive. Airbag smoke coming from his lungs. He dashes out of the car to check on his family. His wife and mother were seriously injured and had to be hospitalized. His father is still recovering a month later. Incredibly, his 2 girls were shaken but not badly hurt. But as for the driver and 2 passengers in the other car, they did not survive.
You believe this could happen again?
I do think so, yeah. There's no way to avoid that.
Looking back, Quang blames the road markings. He's traveled back to where it happened, making careful observations of the road. He believes the other car was passing legally over dashed lines that should be solid.
There was mountains blocking the curvature, so it was all a bad combination. 2 other cars were in that same situation. It would result in a similar bad outcome.
He wants an audit of the route from Yosemite to the Bay Area.
You always have a fear of like the other direction could just hit you right head on. And that would be like the worst nightmare. And that was the nightmare I lived.
This video, he says, is evidence that Highway 4 needs a safety review. But more than that,
it's just another reminder that things can change so fast.
And the CHP says they are awaiting the results of a toxicology report for the driver who caused the crash, but they don't suspect DUI. The Tran family has a GoFundMe page to help with their medical expenses. We have that link on our website, abc10.com. Next, on To the Point, the Red Cross responding to a record number of billion-dollar disasters.
Temperatures today above average at 93 degrees. How long will continue this warming trend?
And California state colleges are raising tuition, the changes students are about to see. New tonight, Governor Newsom says that he's heading to China next month to talk climate change. In an interview with Politico, the governor says maintaining a relationship on climate with China is about the fate and future of this planet, and California needs to lead. The U.S. and China resumed talks on climate change last year. Tonight in Libya, at least 5,100 people are confirmed dead after 2 dams collapsed following heavy rain. The death toll is expected to rise to 9,000 people who are still missing. And following hurricanes, the Maui fires, and more, the Red Cross says the U.S. has hit a new record of $1 billion weather disasters this year. They say they cannot catch a break, and they blame climate change for it.
At the current pace in 2023, we're looking at $1 billion disaster every 9 days. So almost weekly, we're seeing a major event strike the country. And that doesn't even account for the hundreds of other events we're seeing that are impacting communities every day that are also climate driven.
The Red Cross says they will now be coordinating disaster operations year round instead of just a case-by-case basis. More funding is also allowing them to hire more staff, including a new leadership team. Meanwhile, climate scientists say one of the biggest risk factors is the fact that people are still crowding into areas along coastlines where hurricanes hit and near forests that can burn. And Carly, I know we are all watching, hoping that we're not going to see any big fires this year.
Yeah, we hope not. I mean, it's been pretty mild so far this summer, and most of the year, we had heavy rainfall, even record-setting rain, which has helped push and delay fire season. But it's the end of the summer, and we're starting to see the effects of drying out all summer long, with humidity levels anywhere from 20 to 30%, even into your evening hours. Now, when these numbers get very low, we get bone dry conditions, so any kind of spark can take off quickly, especially when we start adding in the wind factor, which if you've been in Northern California quite some time, you know those winds really start picking up from September, October, and even as late as through November, as we start getting strong wind effects and wind factors playing a part in those elevated fire risks and wind-driven fire events. Now, as we look at current temperatures, upper 80s and low 90s out there in the valley. The highs, though, we're at around 93 degrees in Sacramento today, so slightly above the average of 89 this time of year. High pressure systems in place have been driving a lot of the winds just from the north here into our area, which is bringing us dry conditions, but also warm ones at that. A little bit of a red zone up there for fire concerns near the coast of Oregon. Otherwise clear in the valley, but we're still seeing some unstable weather conditions for areas of the High Sierra, and that is some thunderstorm chances that we do expect to continue seeing tomorrow afternoon. Winds do pick up for us about 10 to 15 miles per hour. You can see it in the blue green shades there as it comes into the valley spots. Coastal range spots could see winds as high as about 30 to 40 mile per hour winds and gusts. And then finally Thursday, another wind event into your afternoon, evening hours as we still see those warm conditions. Looking into our future cast, we're actually warm for the next couple of days, but then we finally gradually see a little bit of a dip here happening as we'll get cooler conditions moving in for ourselves into next week. We're talking temperatures back into the 80s, so a couple more days in the 90s before we drop off into the mid to low 80s throughout next week.
Next, on To the Point, California state colleges raising tuition, impacting students who are already struggling with housing and food, and the difference free meals have had on K through 12 students, now 1 year into the program at California public schools.
You don't worry about the foods anymore, so no lunchbox, nothing. Yeah, that's great.
Well, we're inching closer to the 2024 elections. Today, Republican Utah Senator and former presidential candidate Mitt Romney is calling it quits, and he says that he will not seek re-election. Instead, he called for a new generation of leaders today as he criticized both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump.
The times we're living in really demand the next generation to step up and express their point of view, and to make the decisions that will shape our American politics over the coming century. And just having a bunch of guys that were around, the baby boomers, who were around in the post-war era, we're not the right ones to be making the decisions for tomorrow.
Mitt Romney is 76 years old. His term will end in 2025. New tonight, a federal judge has declared a revised version of DACA illegal. The federal policy prevents the deportation of hundreds of thousands of immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. The ruling agreed with Texas and 8 other states suing to stop DACA, which was introduced by the Obama administration back in 2012. The case is ultimately expected to be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. If that happens, this will be the third time that the Supreme Court will take up the issue. For the past year, California students have benefited from free meals at school. No questions asked at all. The state has invested more than $1 billion into the program, putting your tax dollars to work.
We don't worry about the foods anymore, so no lunchbox, nothing, yeah.
West Sacramento parent Ashraf Farhad says that he doesn't have to worry about his kid having food at school anymore. His student is one of millions benefiting from the California Universal Meals program, which allows all students to eat breakfast and lunch for free.
It helps families with low income or families with less income provide food for their kids.
Last year, California made history as the first state in the country to offer free meals to every student. 8 other states like Minnesota, New Mexico, and Colorado have followed suit. The ones benefiting most are, of course, the kids. Better health and nutrition, improved academic performance, and great social ability are just some of the benefits the Nutrition Policy Institute found. The Institute's research also found that stigma around unpaid meal charges decreased, which has led to more students going to the cafeteria to get food. Kim Frenzel, Director of Nutrition Services for the California Department of Education, says all children deserve access to nutritious meals.
That should not be a barrier when they come to school. We want to set them up for success.
The program also helps school districts with funding for staffing and equipment, a relief with rising labor and food costs. Since 2021, over $800 million have been invested in grant programs to upgrade kitchen infrastructure.
Additional dollars to help schools incentivize doing more freshly prepared, more speed scratch or scratch cooking options for students, locally sourced foods.
Sacramento City Schools tells us that they have received one-time funds to help offset growing food costs so they can keep feeding kids. Some of that funding is from state and the federal government. New reporting on inflation. While a lot of workers have seen their pay go up over the last few years, inflation has been eating away at a lot of those gains. The Census Bureau says when adjusted for inflation, average wages in 2022 were down for the third year in a row, and it's hurting Americans' outlook on the economy. With that being said, this might be a relatively quiet holiday for shoppers. The company Deloitte estimates holiday sales will rise from 3.5% to around 4.5%. That would be the slowest growth in 5 years. As lawmakers rush to get their bills to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk, a possible secret deal to address the state's insurance crisis has fallen through. So consumer advocates are warning that insurance rates could go through the roof. So the industry reportedly wants 3 main changes. They want rate increases without divulging data, shifting high-risk insurance costs from insurance companies to policy holders, and charging consumers for what is now considered normal business expenses. One California insurance broker and expert warns the lack of movement at the state capitol is going to make getting property insurance harder.
When the announcement sort of came down the pipeline that it looked like there was not going to be any type of arrangement, any type of agreement between everyone trying to get this done, we immediately started getting notes from other insurance companies that said, okay, since it looks like nothing's going to happen, in this session, we're going to be stopping new business.
As we've reported on To The Point, many insurance companies are changing how they do business in the state, saying it's due to natural disasters and the cost to rebuild. And today, California state universities voted to increase tuition over several years. It comes as a system-wide report found that 41% of students face food insecurity and 10% of students experience homelessness in any given year. Our Devin Truby has more on this tonight.
Yeah, Alex, starting next year, CSU students will pay 6% more for tuition than they do right now. The board says the hike was necessary to protect the future of the institution.
Yes. The motion carries 9 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions.
A unanimous decision by the California State University trustees in Long Beach to raise tuition by 34% over the next 5 years, roughly 6% each year starting next year. For the 2024-2025 school year, that means an extra $342. That would raise tuition from $5,700 to $6,000.
My family, we needed the financial aid just to pay for my tuition.
By the end of the 5 years, tuition will be almost $2,000 more.
I've already got a job for summer, but I'm probably going to have to take out another loan.
Giving students at Sac State a lot to think about on their walk to class.
I don't know if we're going to be able to afford it or if I can continue to go here, if I'll have to go somewhere else.
Madison will feel the full impacts of the 5-year increase as a nursing student. She'll be in school longer.
Because FAFSA already doesn't cover a lot for me at least, and it's kind of hard to pay for college as is. So with the increase, it actually did really stress me when I found out about it.
Students say it's not just the cost of tuition, but inflation as well and other required costs like textbooks.
But there's still about $70, $80 each. On top of that, I commute here right now because trying to live here was really expensive, so I just commute and I probably spend $200 a week on gas just for college.
Many left with few choices.
I'd probably have to pull out more loans and be in more debt, and it would be more difficult to pay them off in the long run.
Sac State's new president, J. Luke Wood, tells ABC 10 he's ready to get to work to help students where he can.
What are the things that we can do as a campus to curb the impact that could potentially have on some students? So we're focused on increasing the number of scholarships for our students.
There was a last-minute attempt today at a new amendment that would only have the tuition increase be for 3 years, but it was unanimously declined. The CSU's chief financial officer reminding the board that if this did not pass, that the 23 campuses would have to lay off thousands of teachers and even cancel classes, Alex.
All right, thank you, Devin. Next, on To The Point, the local all-female mariachi band. All right, coming up tomorrow on To The Point, a all-female mariachi band. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month right here on To The Point. So tomorrow we're introducing you to the Mariachi Bonitos. They were formed by Denora Klingler during the pandemic with the goal of diversifying mariachi music. The women tour Sacramento Valley and are helping change the norms that have historically come with playing the music.
In Mexico, we have this culture of is the male who brings the serenades to the ladies, is the man who is the provider. But times have changed.
Join us right here tomorrow night at 6:30 to hear the story of this band and the music as well. We will be featuring stories about Hispanic culture for the next several weeks right here on ABC 10. And also, before we go, don't forget, if you miss any of our shows or any of the stories that we do here, you can always stream ABC 10 for free through the ABC 10 Plus app on Apple TV or Roku to make sure that you get caught up on everything. Have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.